I'd like to laser in on this quote, "Sir, we would like to see Jesus." We would like to see, maybe we could relate to that desire. Jesus, can we see you? How do we see you? How do we encounter you? And I'd suggest it's through a radical acceptance of God's will, a radical acceptance of thy will be done, not what I often find myself praying, my will be done, Lord. I could sort of subtly throw that into all my prayers. My will be done, Lord. There's this radical acceptance of God's providence that allows us to see Jesus and encounter him in a mysterious, deep way. A radical acceptance of God's providence. I'm reading a wonderful book right now. It's called Into Your Hands, Father. It's from Father Wilfred Stinnison. And he goes deep into the temptation we have to flee ordinary events of life. And God allows some bad stuff to happen for a greater purpose that we don't understand. We have a desire to flee difficult circumstances, thinking that, well, we'll just go someplace sterile and safe, and that's where we'll find God. And Father Stinnison beautifully says there's a radical acceptance of God's will, even in the messiness of life, that truly tries us by fire, purifies us, is our cross, is how we follow Jesus, is how we meet him there. And in the short term, it looks ugly and it doesn't make sense, but deeper, it's beautiful. I had dinner with a lady who goes by the name Mama the other night. She came to our Operation Night Watch nightly meal, and she invited me to sit with her. And we talked for an hour. Mama has struggled a lot in life. I won't go into all the details, but if something bad could happen to a person, it's happened to Mama. She now finds herself estranged from family. She now finds herself living without a home, and she now finds herself riddled with addiction to substances just to try to help her keep some sort of sanity. God, we don't understand why you allow this to happen. And here in the midst of it all, she says, I fought it for a long time, Frank, and I'm just now kind of waking up and saying, God, what do you have for me in all of this cross, in all of this struggle of what's happened to me? Where are you in all of this? And she has answers to that. And she's seeing them dimly one step at a time. But among other things, she now finds herself adopting that name Mama, because although she's been estranged from her own family, she looks around and she sees so many young adults on the streets who have been ejected from their families for some reason. And she says, I'm becoming a mother for them. And in a strange way, I'm able to be there for them as mother, because they've been estranged from their mothers. Is it perfect? Not at all. Is there something really beautiful and overwhelmingly powerful about it? You bet. In fact, while we're sitting there for an hour, no fewer than 10 people came by and had to touch her on the shoulder and thank her for always thinking of them and being there for them. Mama, radically accepting a cross. Things had been done to her. She doesn't understand why, but rather than flee to somewhere sterile, she's finding God in the midst of it all. In his providence, he allows things to happen for some reason that we don't understand right now. And she beautifully ends by saying, I have God in my heart. And I can't help but think of this reading from the prophet Jeremiah. I will place my law in their hearts. She knows the love of God deeply. I find people of great faith out on the streets all the time, modern day Israelites learning to trust in God and one another every day. Is it romantic? Not at all. Is there something amazing happening and a discovery of God? You bet. Thankful for Mama. Mama is an amazing witness of thy kingdom come, thy will be done. She's radically accepting God's will in all things, that she might be tried in a mysterious way and purified. She's dying to self on a daily basis. Yes, yearning for deliverance from the addiction, but realizing she's playing a role of mother along the way. A mother that many of the folks on the street would not have if she weren't there. She's trying to understand God's will for it. I think it's all a participation of this. Are we willing to fall to the ground and die? Right? This is the big phrase that we can end with from the gospel. Unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains just a grain of wheat. But if it dies, it produces much fruit. Are we willing to radically accept circumstances that God is providing for us? Are we willing to pick up our crosses and follow him, knowing that it leads to a complete acceptance of God's will, not ours? Are we willing to die to our own image of what our lives should look like so that we can encounter Jesus in the midst of it all, who gives us a great gift that we can't understand right now? My brothers and sisters, as we transition to the Eucharist, which we celebrate repeatedly, here it takes on a special significance just the week before Palm Sunday. We always sing Hosanna in the highest. And it's this great, glorious welcoming of the Messiah into Jerusalem. And they were expecting a conquering Messiah. Here he comes. He's going to conquer. And then in a great paradox, we see him do nothing but pour himself out as sacrifice for others. It's quite a paradox of what happens from Palm Sunday to Good Friday. And so if we want to see Jesus, look no further than right here and then at people like Mama in the world. Because right here, it's the celebration of how God's providence is happening, and it's a celebration with a sacrifice. I think similarly to we encounter Jesus, we reveal Jesus to others by radically accepting his will, falling to the ground, and dying to self that we might continue to live with him. I wish you peace on this day and the coming week.